Spirit fingers. That's what this is.
All the things.
In case anybody was wondering what that gesture was.
That was spirit fingers. Full on spirit fingers.
Like, I mean,
Okay.
they were like
Okay.
fingers.
So hello. We're 2 minutes out. So, if you are joining us for the replay of this special bonus content, fast forward through the first 3 minutes. We're just trying to get the internet together. So, internet, thank you for supporting us in our endeavors today. So we're 2 minutes out. I'm Keita Williams, and I'm with my amazing guest, Elena Tarassova, who is going to rock your entire world. So just it'll just a smidgy poo-poo. So.
Just no. Don't set the expectations too high.
No, we go big. It's a 5 days of focus, and we're on like day 6 because we're overachievers.
I mean, that's the only people you have in your life. Like, I don't understand. People go to the expectation. Like,
you're like, we got to exceed expectation. That's what we do here.
Room up here. Like, why would you just, you got to,
why stop here where you could go there?
Yeah. I don't know any other way to do it.
Oh, 1 minute and counting. Hey, Maggie. Okay. And there's Maggie living the dream.
Hi, Maggie. We can't see you, but you can see us.
Yeah. Maggie, if you could chat me comments if there are questions, because I can't see the comments again. So, hey.
Oh, my goodness.
All the things. 1 minute and counting. Look alive. No pressure. Like your blazer.
Thank you, Armoire, by the way. Vika, another fabulous female POC entrepreneur, killing it in Seattle.
Yeah.
Actually, this is all Armoire, so I don't even dress myself anymore. So
good work. That's where we're at. It's 3 p.m. on the dot. We're going for it. All right. Hello. I am Keita Williams, founder and chief strategist of Success Bully. Success Bully is an elite accountability practice, so that makes me your personal, professional butt kicker. We have built an entire coaching brand around goal setting and accountability, and I am so glad that you are joining us for the 5 days of focus. It has been an amazing few days, and because we are high achievers here at Success Bully, of course, we had to do more than 5 days. Of course, we have bonus content. So we wanted to make sure that we were providing you with some tools so that you can take what you learned in the 5 days of focus and execute on it. And so, friendly reminders, a couple announcements. The 5 days of focus content is actually going to come down on August 11th. So Tuesday, August 11th, we'll be bringing the units down. All of the recordings, all of the homework go bye-bye. So if you are behind, please catch up. If you need to binge watch this instead of Netflix, you have the weekend to do it. If you need additional support, please connect with your concierges. So if your first name begins with the letters A through K, you want to connect with Monica. If your first name begins with the letters L through Z, then you want to connect with Maggie. And they have sent you friend requests. They have been DMing you. If you still haven't heard from them, you can send them emails. Everybody, their first name at successbully.com. We're a real tricky bunch here. We have clever email addresses. First name at successbully.com. Any one of us. So before I jump into our lovely guest, who is one of our Success Bully success stories, Elena, I do want to remind you all that in addition to the 5 days of focus, we have opened the doors on our group coaching program, which is called Your 90-Day Way. So if you are a high-performing type A who is looking to next level, you're at that 98% and you need to take it to that 2%, this is a program for you. If you are what I would consider a velvet runner, where you're accomplished, you've checked all of your boxes, you have your education, you have that big career, and now you're trying to figure out what's next. So you've done what you have to do, and now you want to think about what you want to do. This is an amazing program for you. If you are a delightful procrastinator where you have that brilliant idea and you may have been talking about it for years and you have not been able to get it off the ground, this is a program for you. If you are a FOFfer where you fear failure, where you are a high achiever and the idea of failing the idea of failing is so huge for you that you won't even try, come on and join us. If you are a FOSSer, we just made this word up. FOSSer, fear of
Yeah.
successor. Yeah, if you're scared to be successful.
Nope.
If you are a FOSSer and success is scaring you and you are getting in your own way to next level, this is the program for you. So how does this program work? We have extended the legs of the Your 90-Day Way coaching program. We initially thought that it takes 33 to 66 days to develop a new habit and 90 days before you see results. And while we have seen our clients have incredible results, we find that every goal takes longer than 90 days to achieve. So we are trying to help you get into that habit with the first 90 days, and then we're going to help you supercharge with the second 90 days. So we've extended the length of the program to be a 6-month commitment. So you're going to work with us for 6 months, and I promise you it's going to be life changing. So within that, you will have weekly coaching calls with me. You will have a weekly accountability check-in. So we track your progress throughout it. We walk you through our goal setting process. We help you get clear on things. We help you with your time management. We have so many different resources and tools to help you stay on track. Within the group, you are paired with an accountability buddy that you will have day-to-day contact with. You will have a accountability tracking system that we have built that will track your progress throughout the 6 months, but it also spits out a scorecard so you can see where you stand with the rest of the group. And we will continue to cheerlead for you. We will help you through. We have ways for you to connect with us. If you are having a bad day and you need a pep talk or you need to troubleshoot, we have a whole system for triaging that for you. And so the cost of that program to work with us, we have a special promotion going on because August is my birthday month. And so I am feeling extra generous. To work with us over the next 6 months is a $3,000 investment. Now you can do that in 6 payments of $500, or you can pay in full. You can pay your $3,000 up front, and then you get additional private coaching sessions with me. Now, Elena and I are going to talk more about this, that when is the time to make the investment in coaching, right? When is the time for you to make that investment in yourself, to make that investment in your dreams? So we're going to talk more about that. And I think that that is an amazing pivot to talk to Elena. Hey! So with that, just want to remind you that the Your 90-Day Way is open. You can go to your90dayway.com to get the full rundown on the program. You can reach out to your concierge, but know that our special introductory birthday pricing ends on August 11th, and then it goes up to its full price, which is $650 a month over the 6-month period. So again, I'm Keita Williams. We are now pivoting over to Elena. I had to turn my chair. So Elena, thank you for joining us. And I cannot say this enough, that you are one of my nearest and dearest, but additionally, you are one of my favorite success stories. And so I want to give everyone a little bit of background, and then we'll do the jazzy pants things for you. So Elena initially started in property management as a building manager in early 2010. She excelled in that industry and then realized, hey, there's a lot of opportunities in the short-term rental industry. So after a short trial period, she convinced a bunch of people to beta test with her. Elena was able to launch her very own industry-changing, crazy idea called Vioure. And Vioure has been a mission-driven company. She's supported the local community. She's been able to scale it from a 6-figure company to a multi-7-figure company in a short window of time. And she believes in investing in people, partnerships, and the community. And even during the shift in the hospitality industry, Elena was able to use her resources to help others during that time frame. And I couldn't be more proud of her. I could not be more proud of her. She is one of the graduates of our most recent Your 90-Day Way group coaching program. Whoop, whoop. And so with that, Elena, tell us a little bit more about you. Tell us all your fabulousness. Share with us a little more about your background.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know where to start. I think you actually covered it pretty well.
I covered it all. So at what point did you want to become an entrepreneur? At what point did you make that shift from employee to entrepreneur?
That's a better question. Honestly, I don't think I was ever not an entrepreneur. I mean, I was not that I wasn't a good employee. I just didn't stay an employee for very long. I would always end up in a managerial role somehow, even unasked. So I was always trying to fix something, make something better, just improve the process. And I started working for my first startup while I was still in college. I did College Works painting as an internship, which is like an entrepreneurial like business internship, like straight out the gate. You know, Freshman year of college, and then I just was always having a side hustle or starting something, some type of little, I was never not that. I don't know how to be anything else, honestly. This is it for me.
I love it because where I would say that I never thought I would be an entrepreneur. I always had little entrepreneurial things going on.
Mhm.
Even as a kid, I like sold cakes.
Yep.
I would bake cakes and I would sell them at church, or
Yep.
it was always some other thing going on. But I never thought that entrepreneurship was
Mhm.
accessible to me. I don't know. It felt like, oh, I like doing these other things. It didn't feel like I could build a career. What I was taught was go to college, get a good job, keep the good job. That was what I was taught.
I'm still getting that advice. Are you kidding me? Every
Oh
time.
yeah. I actually
Wow.
just stopped getting that advice just recently, like in the last 6 months, where it was like, you this might be working for you, Keita, and I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's a thing.
Being an entrepreneur is not an easy path. And like yourself, I never recognized this what it was. I was always that girl with the crazy idea, even when I was a kid, organizing my little friends to do something that like we weren't supposed to do, and they were like, "Who is this kid? And why does she think she could do that?" Like nobody's ever done that. I mean, every step of the way when I've
You can
done
see that you were
what
a ringleader even as a kid.
even as oh, my mom will tell you stories from when we had just gotten to Canada and I didn't even barely speak any English. Like my English was like maybe like
Mhm.
20 words is what I knew. And somehow I already had all the neighborhood kids following me around doing whatever crazy antics I had thought of at like 9, 10 years old. I mean, it was just, that was always me.
So it's nice to know some things don't change. So question. So I think that you kind of touched on something. So like let's talk about so I think it's important to say that you actually grew up in Siberia and then moved to Canada and then moved to the US. And so like let's talk about how that experience of being an outsider impacted you in your pursuits as an entrepreneur.
I think it impacts me in every possible facet of entrepreneurship and of building a company and the way you build it. I think the intentionality is very different for me than a lot of other entrepreneurs. I think the way that I hire is very much where it's most visible. And then the way that I structure my company and who do I structure for, who do I make sure feels welcome and taken care of, from who we featured as our artists and curating artists that were from the new majority, that were mostly women of color, a lot of folks that were queer. A lot of their art was very political or avant-garde or very like edgy or something that wasn't, it's very opposite of like, let's say, commercial art. And we get a lot of feedback from some of our guests, and our art was very visible, first of all, in all the photos, and they would say, oh, this art made me uncomfortable, or it's a little too political, or so. And I'm like, well, then we're just not for you, because I'm not going to apologize for this art. The whole point is that we want to promote these voices. This aligns with our mission and values. Like we believe in those things, so we're like absolutely the company and the leadership team that reflects multiple communities. Even when I was looking out for co-founder, the person who ended up being my co-founder was a Black, off-center, masculine, female, veteran. I mean, like everything that kind of really isn't mainstream, right? And everybody who was already part of my team was very much like, folks that would be considered new majority, right? We were everybody I brought on, all of my coaches, all of my outside contractors, everybody who made up part of our team. Our hospitality team was another immigrant-owned business. So it's woven into the fabric of everything that I do, who I want to work with, and who I want to support, and the queer artists of color that we would support and put up in our units that would come in from like nationally, internationally to perform here in Seattle, because it's very hard to be an artist in Seattle and it's very expensive. And one of the biggest things was housing, and that was one way we could support them. So there was just, it was in everything that we did, and I think it's important.
I do think that that speaks to when you're building something, whether it is, you know, building your unicorn startup, or you are writing your first book, or you're writing that screenplay, or you're starting that side hustle. What having intention and your integrity and your values can show up in every piece of that. It's not something that you do later. It's something that as you start, you're very intentional about who you want to work with, how you want to show up, and you don't have to be apologetic about who you are or who you choose to work with. And I think that is, especially in our ever-changing world, where we're having to have these very tough conversations around race, around diversity, around voices being heard, that it can be done.
Oh, absolutely.
It
And
can be done.
that people are saying, oh, we just can't find a qualified candidate that's diverse. We can't find a qualified like Black, female, X, or, you know, immigrant, whatever, or queer. And I'm like, really? I don't seem to have that problem. My whole team is qualified folks from everywhere. Everybody in my community, in my network, everybody who I hire checks all of those boxes. You know, we were an entirely female-led and female-run company. And I say female in multiple bodies and shapes and gender expressions, you know, and from multiple backgrounds and all sorts of, you know, we had like a lunch program that we sponsored, and we did not have a problem catering to vegan, halal, kosher, you know, and gluten-free, all the dietary restrictions. We didn't look at it as like, oh, wow, that sounds hard. Like now we have to like look for this and this. It's like, no, this is who we are. This is who we're for. This is who we represent. And like, it's not any harder than catering to a meat eater.
Yeah, I will say the snacks were always delicious at your office.
Thank you. Thank you.
Separate aside. So let's talk about goal setting for a little bit. So like when, you know, 'cause like going from a cute little thing, you know, when you first start out and it's cute, and you're the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker.
Oh, yeah,
You know, when you're doing all the things, to building a team, how do you have to approach goal setting when you're first getting started, to what it looks like when you have I don't want to say like a behemoth, but you have this bigger organization. How do you have to change your approach to goal setting?
Well, one of the first things I did when I really was like, wow, I need help, was like, I just hired you to come do it. I was like, this is not my skill set. I cannot, I'm sorry, like I cannot say enough about like, please hire the right person for the job. That was not what I was doing. I need help. So that's one. The right team members. Definitely. And, you know, I strongly believe in coaching. So I had a lot of amazing coaches and you were one of them. So definitely having somebody else come in and help set that up and then continue, you know, following that methodology. You know, learning how to delegate is definitely important. You can't do it all when we're overachievers. That's definitely one of the things I struggle with the most, in your program, outside of your program, everywhere in my life, is the delegating bit. So having a really clear way of having your team structure those goals, and then having a clear methodology to follow in order to track them. You know, I think the tracking is really huge. One of the biggest differences that, you know, I noticed working with you is just the tracking is everything. And that's, you know, the time honesty, like that's where you see it. Because, you know, we're checking little things off the list. It feels really good, but are you really doing the things that you need to be doing in order to get to that bigger goal? What's the high priority, right? What's going to convert to whatever it is, whether it's $1 or, you know, more exposure or more information, whatever it is that you're working on. And so just having that clear foundation,
Mm-hmm.
and then continuing and being methodical about it, and the tracking, and checking in with your team and supporting them through it, and obviously hiring the right help, because
Oh yeah.
you have
So,
to know what you're good at and where your weak spots are, and
oh
like
yeah, and I think that and I think that is so true. Like it even, I think oftentimes, and I hear this a lot because, like, this is what I do all day.
yeah,
But the idea of coaching being so, it's not in my budget, or like I can't afford coaching.
you
Well,
can't
like,
not afford it is the
you
thing.
could right. Because like when I think about even as a coach, I have multiple coaches.
Mhm.
And I think that the investment in coaching, it aligns to where I want to take the organization.
Right.
Right? Like, I have coaches that specialize in helping coaches build 7-figure plus brands. So we're
Yep.
not playing small, like we've gotten to the point where it's about scale now. So now I have to have coaches that are focused on helping me scale, right? And so I know that in your case, like when we met, you had like a 6-figure business, and that's a magical story of how we met.
It was
So
cute. It was cute. It was a lifestyle. Like it was, it wasn't bad, but it definitely wasn't next level. It wasn't what I wanted. And like 2 years later, working together, I had a 7-figure business. Like, I mean, that's a huge leap. And I
oh
was like
yes.
low 6 figures when we first met.
Mm-hmm.
Barely. So, I mean, that's a huge difference, and I definitely couldn't have done it myself. And I think the beauty of coaching is that like you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't have enough time in the day to read all the books and Google all the things. Like, why skip the line? You know,
Oh, skip the line. Did somebody comment that? Skip the line. Skip, because like that's how I feel about it. Like, I could try to figure this out, and I could go round and round the mountain, and I could get stuck, and I could try to figure it out. I feel like I'm smart enough to figure it out, but it's gonna take me 8 months,
why?
right? Skip the line.
And I mean, like what I want results.
Right.
Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to prove to everybody that like, oh, I could read that book myself and figure out. Like that's nice. You know what's smarter than that is like I could just ask, my friend Kita to, well, how do I do that thing? Because like that's her area of expertise, isn't it? Or one of my other coaches, like how do I get to X? Like I don't want to spend 8 months on it. I don't have that type of runway. Like I don't know
No,
about you, but I'm not sitting on a pile of cash where I can afford to burn through it for the next 8 months so I can prove to myself that I can figure it
I
out.
figured it out.
Good for me.
Skip the
Nobody
line.
cares.
Skip the line. Skip the line. Oh my goodness, all the things. So like, let's talk about some productivity hacks, and just kind of like, I harp on this in the practice all the time. It's not time management, it's ruling your time. Because
Yeah.
the time management, when you manage your time, that implies it can call in late, it can call in sick, you have all this wiggle room. So talk to us a little bit about how you rule your time. How do you usually structure your days?
Oh my goodness. I think one of the biggest productivity hacks was like the first time I worked with you and you had us like figure out when we're most productive and how do I kind of create like little like buffer zones of like, okay, when can I do stuff that's just like, it's important, you got to do it, like some admin things, but don't put that in your most productive hours of the day when you actually have to be creative and like problem solve. Or like when can you take certain calls that are just like, okay, I just have to make that call and make sure that that's where it needs to be and the thing is being followed up on or whatever, but that is not going to be during my most productive times. And I think that really kind of like helped me accelerate, to make sure that I was being really efficient, because like wasting my most productive hours on like just little admin things or
Right.
things like important to get done, but they weren't like, oh, I got to solve this huge like, how do we attack next year? How do
Right.
we get through the rest of this quarter? We're like behind on our goals, or like we just got some feedback from clients and they weren't exactly what we were hoping to hear. Like, how do we problem solve that?
Mm-hmm,
Right? And
mm-hmm.
that, you got to save those most productive
Yeah.
hours for those type of things.
Yeah. So what Elena is referencing is the concept around your peak performance hours. So
There it is.
like, are you a morning glory? Are you at your best first thing in the morning? Are you a midday miracle? I know Elena's more of a midday miracle. I will have been up for hours working before Elena's like, what are we doing?
It's like, after my first cup of coffee, bye.
Yeah, like I've been up for like 4 hours. Or are you like later in the afternoon, or if you're a night owl, you know? And I had a couple clients that we had to kind of course correct around this, the idea of like getting up early and staying up late. Like you can't be both. You can't be a night owl and a morning a mid I can say it. An early bird. You cannot be a night owl and an early bird. It doesn't work. So yeah,
Mhm.
like so that is something that we are very passionate about, like playing to win, playing to your sweet spot. You know, like okay, if you know that you are at your best from 10 to 2, that's where your heavy lifts are. And then the rest of the day, that's when you can do those little buggy things that
Yeah.
need to get done. Awesome. Awesome. And so
And
like,
practicing time honesty. That was also a big one for me.
oh, the time honesty. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Lay that out, Elena. Because we worked long and hard on this one.
So good at being busy. I have endless to-do lists every time. You think I would have done this program once or twice, and like I still have to-do lists that are like a mile long, and it's every time like, Elena, do you really think that's reasonable? Yes, I can absolutely do this. It's like, really?
I'm like, no.
It's
No,
like, wow, looks like your to-do list again from last week is only
you just
halfway
rolled that one
done.
over. So we rolled it over to the next day. So again, I
Right.
think and Precious, who was on the show yesterday, kind of touched on this, the idea of the top 6 priorities, like shortening that to-do list so you're really focusing on impact rather than just busyness. And I know that we've worked hard on the time and the time honesty piece, because it was like yeah, so you know that thing you said you're gonna do is gonna take you 6 hours.
Oh, it's only 5 minutes. It's never 5 minutes.
It's never 5 minutes. If you tell yourself, oh, this will take me 30 minutes, 90 minutes. Give yourself 90 minutes. So practicing that time honesty. So like another thing that we talked about quite a bit is like the double-edged sword of being brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
And like when you're a high achiever, you never run out of ideas.
Oh my God.
You never
Never.
run out of ideas. You never run out of ways to pick it apart, to Rubik's cube it, to you know,
No.
to break it apart, put it back together, answer all the what ifs. So, what are some of your tips when it comes to like that brilliance being a determined, your brilliance kind of getting in the way of you actually achieving things?
Oh my God.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. That's a hard one. I have to say I still like squirrel, there's so many little pet projects, so many brilliant ideas, and just recognizing that you can't do it all at once,
Hmm.
so you pick what makes the most sense, and what are you really, what can't you live without, and what are you okay with, like, okay, I will do that, I'll just do that later, or what are you okay delegating? Again, one of the hardest things for me to delegate, and listening to your team, which is hard sometimes because we think we know everything,
Oh
but
yeah.
clearly, yeah, I know everything. And definitely listening to my partner at the time, and her ideas on what we should be doing in the company, and be like, that is not the thing that is most important. You at some point have to trust, sage counsel, and other people are invested in, even if like you're like, no, but that's my baby, I really want to do it, it's going to be so great, and they're like, yeah, it is going to be great,
Hmm.
but like, we're gonna need to get back to that, because here's the thing, this is what's driving revenue, or this is what's driving the business, and we need to focus on this, like we can't afford to have you derail and go over here. So learning how to like let some things go, put them aside, and just table them. They're like, I'm not letting go forever, just for now.
Hmm.
and it's okay to just focus and finish, because like what 80% is hard work, right? And that's the thing with being brilliant. We're so used to in school being able to get by on just like not studying, not doing the thing, and we just go into class and we get the high score because we're brilliant. And once you get into running your own business, like you can't get away with that.
Right.
The
Right.
follow through is everything. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's where you can no longer afford to have 5 million brilliant ideas. You got to narrow it down and pick the one, and you gotta follow through, and you gotta finish it. And that's what wins, is the follow through and finishing what you start, and not getting distracted and jumping out to
Yeah.
the idea, because we're so we're ingenious, and we're visionaries, and we want to do the next exciting shiny thing, and the shiny thing is so shiny, and I want to
do this thing. Yeah.
and you gotta wait. If you want the first shiny thing that you were working on to actually become shiny, and for other people, to see it, and for it to be successful, that means you have to, get down in business, and you got to grind it out. You
Oh yeah.
can't.
Oh yeah. And I think you're not alone in that one.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not just entrepreneurs, that like the shiny objects are so real, where you're like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. Before I started my business, I think I tried jewelry making.
Oh
I
yeah.
used to bake all the time. I always had some hobby that I would be like into for like 6 months, and then I was on to something else, and for a while it was like taekwondo. It was a whole bunch of stuff.
Whatever.
Like lifelong learner. But and one of my favorite Elena Prezzi's, like we talk about the world domination notebook.
Mm-hmm.
That when you get these really ingenious ideas that are a not right now, write them in the world domination notebook, capture as much detail as possible, and you can come back to it later. And so once upon a time, Elena made me a bedazzled world domination notebook. Like her love language is bedazzling. And so it's like this really intricate notebook with success bully and sparkles. I had 2 bedazzled notebooks, right? And so like there comes a point where you have to focus, like being focused to the finish. Yes, Roz is with you. Tell them the truth. Focus on the finish. And I think that, and I see this with, that split focus is multitasking never works. Multitasking is a lie. It's a lie. And especially when you're trying to, whether your goal is start the business, whether your goal is finish the book, whether your goal is, lose 50 pounds. If you're all over the place, you're not doing anything well. You're doing little bits of mediocre. Somebody put that in the comments. Little bits of mediocre. And like that is frustrating, because when you have all these different all your hands in all these different pots, and you don't have progress anywhere, it feels like you're underperforming, and you're not getting the results, and then you get frustrated and you move on to the next thing. Whereas if you lock in on that focus area, and you work your plan, that's where you'll start seeing that flywheel. You'll start seeing that flywheel. And I think that that's something that in the last 3.5 years, when people ask me like, how have you been able to have this type of growth, I never deviated. Right. So yes, the business has shifted in the sense of like our product offerings, and as I've become a more seasoned coach, like those types of things have changed. But I have never shut down. I've never said, oh yeah, we're Success Bully is doing something completely different. It has always been the same, right? I think our packaging has gotten sexier, because I've gotten sexier.
It just keeps getting better. Like you keep building on it. So you lay out your foundation, and then you keep going. It's, I like to think of it like an iceberg. All anybody ever sees, right? And they talk about overnight success. And first of all, that's not a
10 years,
right?
That's 10 years.
And it's like you see this little like teeny, and it's so cute and it's so shiny, right? Like, oh my God, how did you get here? It's like, what you don't know is like all of this that I've been doing and still doing.
Right. You don't see any of that. You don't see any of that. You don't see the crying. You don't see the shell game that you sometimes have to play, the stress of where's the revenue. You don't see all of that. You don't see the behind the scenes. And so yes. And I think that with any goal, that there are going to be times where it just sucks.
Oh yeah.
there are going to be times where you don't see it, where like you're doing the work and you don't see the results just yet. But it's in those moments when you can't see it, if you can buckle down and get through that, like get over that hump, the results are on the other side of that hump. So like I feel like when you're just kind of like stalled out, I'm trying, let me do it this way. Stalled out, where you feel like you're right here up the hill and you can't see it, but you can't, behind you there's a lot of progress, but it doesn't feel like there's much in front of you. That's when you really gotta like that's when you gotta tough it out, track your progress, and really commit to it. So I do want to ask you one more question. I know we talked about tracking because you know that's like my favorite thing. Between the accountabilities and tracking, how did you find tracking to be valuable for both you and your business? I love that I gave
Wow.
you the wide eye
It's,
with that question.
I mean, it's so many ways. One, it allows you to hold yourself accountable. So again, for those of us who are brilliant and shiny, right? Like if you don't have numbers, you know, you're like, oh, I feel like I got a lot done, and you know, really moving there. And you're
I'm
like,
crushing it.
I'm crushing it. Yeah, but it's like
so
if
much
you
done.
put the numbers, right? The data, that doesn't lie. And you're like, are you really? Because you're like going all over here, and it's like, oh, it's real cute, and you're having a good time, and you're spinning, you know, like doing a lot of this.
You're
But
tuckering yourself out.
right, it's like I can stay busy. I'm really good at being busy.
Oh yes, yes,
I can
yes.
right? But is it getting me towards my goal? So the tracking really helps you be honest with yourself. And it also really helps when you're talking to other people and potential investors or potential partners, you know, you're like, this is what we're able to accomplish. And this is, you know, the timeline on that, and having concrete data, it really just makes you more legit.
Oh, absolutely. And I do totally agree with the data doesn't lie. Because like you can really, if you are doing, if you don't know if something is working,
Right.
if you're not tracking it, and you don't know if your efforts are paying off. And I think that we found that there's a magical number. There's a magical, if you do this enough, if you do it daily, if you take this one action repeatedly, that it does pay off, and you can identify your magic number. And I find like it's so interesting that especially in the entrepreneurial space that we can get real busy with all these things that we're told we're supposed to do.
Right.
You're supposed to have this shiny website, your social media, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that. No, actually you're supposed to sell something. Otherwise, and I've said this on a call earlier today, you are an eccentric hobbyist.
Right. If the revenue's not there, you don't have a business.
Right. You have a hobby.
Right.
So I do want to ask you before we close things out, and thank you for being so generous with your time. Leaders are readers. So what are you currently reading?
I'm reading, or actually listening to, I'm really a big fan of audiobooks these days. Negotiate Like Your Life Depends on It.
Oh, I love that one.
It's really good. I mean, I've been reading a lot during quarantine.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, that one, that's the one I'm currently on. And there's some really great, you know, tactical tips there. And
like looking for the escalation in the voice. And that's Chris Voss, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yes, yeah. We'll share the link on Negotiate as if your life depended on it.
And it's been on my list for a while. And there's definitely parts of me that are like, I should have read this earlier.
Right. I should have read this like 6 years ago because this was.
This has been required reading. If you want to be an entrepreneur, like, you need to read this. I'm rethinking all the contracts and all the negotiation. And I'm a really good negotiator, first of all.
Yes, I've seen it firsthand.
Yeah. And I was like, man, I could have really squeezed more out of that deal. Like, damn.
Like I should have listened for. Okay, so then before we let you go, what is your advice for this community of goal getters? What's your advice for them?
I have so much advice. I think definitely investing in coaching and investing in yourself. I have seen it work wonders for myself and for my business. You are your own greatest asset. Everything else that you have in your business and all the things that you think are like, oh, this is what makes my company great, or blah, 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 blah. Yes. And you are your best asset and your own worst enemy. Like if you don't get out of your own way, you got nothing. Like your business needs you in top performance shape. and
Mhm.
you can't afford not to keep pushing to squeeze out that last 10%. Um, so, I've always been a big believer in, investing in yourself, like keep reading,
Mhm.
keep getting like great coaches, and you have to take the time for you. It's really easy to get busy and to run around and to support your team or do this and do that for everybody else. Invest in yourself, because if you're not at the top of your game, if you're exhausted, if you're not taking
Mhm.
care of you, like your business will suffer. And you might
Mhm.
not do right away, but you will. So you need to invest in yourself.
Oh, yay. Well, thank you so much. And that is a great way to end things. I'm going to check, I'm going to scroll in the comments really quickly if there are, see if there are any questions from our viewers. That thank you so much. Like it has been phenomenal to not only be your friend, because
Aw.
I am blessed to be your friend, but also to be part of. Elena has been my test subject for some time. You know, like when I was starting, like Elena, try this. Let's try this. Try this. And then, like as I've become a better coach and more formalized, Elena was always the first person I'm like, sign me up, sign me up. What are you doing? Sign me up. Like sign me up. What are we working on this quarter? Sign me up. So I am grateful for your friendship, but also how you've supported the growth of my business over the last 3.5 years. Like we met in a female founders breakfast across the room. I was like, that one's gonna be my friend.
It was a love at first sight.
Like that one right there. She doesn't know. She's gonna be my friend. So I am going to close out. Thank you for joining. Stay on the line really quickly. I'm going to close out the Facebook. So once again, thank you to Elena Tarassova for being such a generous guest, like giving us all this goodness. So yeah, focus, y'all. No shiny objects. No shiny objects. Invest in yourself because you are your biggest asset, but you are also your biggest enemy. So invest in yourself to manage that piece. You want to high perform in every area. So once again, I am Keita Williams. I am the founder and chief strategist of Success Bully. We are so excited to round out the 5 days of focus. We're overachievers. We're on day 6 of the 5 days of focus. If you have additional questions about our new coaching program, Your 90-Day Way, please reach out to your concierges. If the first letters of your first name begin with letters A through K, then you want to talk to Monica. If your first name begins with letters L through Z, you want to talk to Maggie. And if you need more information on the program, you are more than welcome to book a call. You can do that at successbully.com/call. I cannot wait to see where we all are in 90 days. I can't wait to see where we're going to be in 180 days. It's going to be amazing. So thank you all for joining us. And let's get after it. Let's get after it.
Get it.
Oh, yeah, stop. Okay, we gotta wait till that stop. Oh my goodness, we got emojis. Emojis. Hold on, I'm gonna